chapters. Do you feel alive now? You feel alright now? Different status. Do you feel alive now? Same old patterns, same old standards, different chapters. Do you feel alive now? You feel alright now?
The convictions of your normal know you well. You lost nothing of your own self. Close, that's just something we reverse as old friends. With the lightness you God felt. There's no words to say, but that won't stop me anyway. If I could make you forget today, I would. There's no words to say, but that won't stop me anyway. If I could make you forget today, I would. I've never met someone who could even compare to you. You're stronger than I ever knew. Swimming downstream to the cold seas. I've never met someone who could even compare to you. You're stronger than I ever knew. Swimming downstream to the cold seas. We are the statues standing silently. We scorn, but without these sanctions self-imposed, I don't know if we ever know. There's no words to say, but that won't stop me anyway. If I could make you forget today, I would. There's no words to say, but that won't stop me anyway. If I could make you forget today, I will. I've never met someone who could even compare to you. You're stronger than I ever knew. Swimming downstream to the cold seas. I've never met someone who could even compare to you. You're stronger than I ever knew. Swimming downstream to the cold seas. I've never met someone who could even compare to you. You're stronger than I ever knew. Swimming downstream to the cold seas. I've never met someone who could Even compared to you, you're stronger than I ever knew. Someone down the street, so the closer you take it.
blue sky taxi ride. I lent you my jacket, remember? It was such a cold night for summer. They said it's all about the way you sing the top lines. Sing it like you really mean it. Sing it like I really mean it. I really don't stand a chance. I really don't stand a chance. Girl, I just wanna dance. Girl, I just wanna dance. 22, your address, God bless. Tell me that you've been way out to Texas. We could split the ride if you need to. That's the real truth. Yeah. Your mama used to listen to James Brown. Your mama used to listen to James Brown. Your daddy used to listen to James Brown. New York City summertime. Your mama used to listen to James Brown. Your mama used to listen to James Brown. Your daddy used to listen to James Brown. New York City summertime. Now I'm not trying to make a move on you, but you got every I do tell you in the whole room. Everyone here thinks that they need you. Everyone here thinks that they need you. Yeah. We can split the ride if you need to. That's the real truth. Everyone here thinks that they need you. Everyone here thinks. I'm only flickering. It's just a phase I'm in. Not the shape I fit. How'd I get so tongue-tied? So sorry I'm vacant. I'm watching from the sidelines while all the noise, it holds me still. And I wanna be by your side, but I ain't got the patience. Been waiting for you all night. Come and fill the space I feel. We could leave and grace the night lights before everybody vacates. But I'm caught up in your guidelines with all this time left to kill. We don't have to have everything at once. The light upon your figure is pulling on the trigger. We don't have to have everything at once. The light upon your figure got me wrapped around your finger. I heard a whispering as I was walking in. It's something I can't fix. Oh, how'd I get so tongue-tied? So sorry I am vacant. Been watching from the sidelines while all the noise, it holds me still. We
It's pulling on the trigger. It's pulling on the trigger. I'm wrapped around your finger. Wrapped around your finger. Pulling on the trigger. It's pulling on the trigger. It's pulling on the trigger. You are the welcome. playing on my conscience. Driving down the back streets, you're keeping me up. Selling in the basement, eroded in the concrete. Saying that you want me, it's never enough. So give me your love. Could you give me your love? 'Cause baby, this love is all I've got. Could you give me your love? Could you give me your love? 'Cause baby, this love is all I've got. Tell me I'm a genie, blinded by the headlights, running all the red lights. I'm trying to keep up, burning up the highway, losing my patience. You got me in the rear view, you're tearing me up. So give me your love. Could you give me your love? 'Cause baby, this love is all I've got. Won't you give me your love? Won't you give me your love? 'Cause baby, this love is all I've got. So give me your love, 'cause this is a place that I belong. So give me your love, 'cause this is a place that I belong. Give me your love, 'cause this is a place that I belong. So give me your love, 'cause this is a place that I belong. Rewind to find you. Caught by the lone moon. Wide eyes, bright blue. In high tide and cold water. With my heart in your hands, with my heart in your hands, with my heart in your hands. Don't let it go. With my heart in your hands. All your love makes me stay. You're the love I needed. Find love, draw you. See right, see through. To wide eyes, bright blue. High tide and cold water. With the heart in your hands, don't let it go. With the heart in your hands, all your love, it keeps me safe. All your love completes me. All your love, it makes me stay. You're the love I needed. All your love keeps me safe. All your love completes me. All your love makes me stay. You're the love I needed. With the heart in your hands, don't let it go. With the heart in your hands, with my heart in your hands, don't let go. With my heart in your hands. All good. Are you alright? I'm in your neighborhood. In your darkest times. Are you all good? Are you alright? I'm in your neighborhood. For your darkest times. Are you all good? Are you alright? I'm in your neighborhood. For your darkest times. Are you all good? Are you alright? I'm in your neighborhood. For your darkest times. Are you all good? Tell me how you feel. Are you alright? And we're all alone. I'm in your neighborhood. I wanna whisper you something. For your darkest times. Are you all good? Tell me how you feel. Are you alright? And we're all alone. I'm in your neighborhood. I wanna whisper you something. For your darkest times. When all you want is to disappear, searching for wisdom, but nothing's clear. What will become of me if you're not here? I know life is a mental place, but there's always fear. Are you all good? How you feeling? And we're all alone. I wanna whisper you something that you already know. Are you all good? Tell me how you feeling. And we're all alone. I wanna whisper you something that you already know. Are you all good? Tell me how you feeling. Are you alright? And we're all alone. I'm in your neighborhood. I wanna whisper you something for your darkest time that you already know. Are you all good? Tell me how you feeling. Are you alright? And we're all alone. I'm in your neighborhood. I wanna whisper you something for your darkest time that you already know. Are you all good?
Feel you breathing down my neck as the blood's rushing to my legs. Waiting for a chance to prove that my soul, it belongs to you. I just wanna go there. I just want a beautiful escape. I just wanna move, yeah. Show you that this love is yours to take. And now we're driving over fears that make us feel like we're not enough. Yeah, we're flying now, closer, dancing on the edge of the world above. I was scared I couldn't show ya all this loving that I hold inside. But now I feel your power. I am here and I don't wanna hide no more. No more. Now I'm feeling like you're with me as my heart's pouring out my sleeve. I don't want this rush to go. Oh, I'm trying to let you know. I just wanna go there. I just want a beautiful escape. I just wanna move, yeah. I just wanna take you to that place. And now we're driving over fears that make us feel like we're not enough. Yeah, we're flying now, closer, dancing on the edge of the world above. I was scared I couldn't show ya
next number, I'd like to return to the classics. Perhaps the most famous classic in all the world of music. And yet, for some strange reason, I've been told,
We find club with a very long tradition behind it. Does that take you back?
to the classics.
Live and work all the time with doubt, you know. Doubt that they've done it, doubt that they can do it, doubt that this one has worked, doubt the next one will work. We live with doubt. And a moment like this, when you hear that you won a prize like this, is a moment when, at least for a time, the doubt disappears.
I was over the moon and absolutely chuffed, and it was an honour to receive that, because I was a C average student. I failed English at school, so the little girl in me just jumped around with joy going, I finally passed, with recognition from my peers.
Every novel that wins a prize at the Premier's Literary Awards has been written by someone who at various stages have decided the novel is not going to go anywhere.
To win something like, you know, this award, it was just, I mean, it blew me away, to be honest.
It was very important to me. I'd just, after teaching for 10 years at Sydney University, I'd just given up my job, become a full-time writer.
And obviously it's a delightful surprise. It's wonderful to be judged positively by your peers.
It means a lot because other people celebrate it with you. I think this award is in many ways particularly important because it's open to writers from beyond New South Wales. So in effect it is an Australian award, to all Australian writers. And without displaying some sort of cultural cringe, it is true that I come from the provinces, the other side of the continent, and that it matters to be speaking to all of Australia.
Actually, probably the most extraordinary thing is to receive the money. And a lot of people would ask me, are you going to go on a holiday? Or what are you going to do with the money? And I think, I'm going to live on it. And it'll probably see me out for a good year.
The cash does not hurt. You know, it gives you space to actually concentrate on your writing rather than trying to work out where the next paycheck will come from.
When the award was made in 1979, it was, of course, the first of all the Premier's Awards. And so it was a big move forward.
I think it does affect how you feel about yourself, winning a prize, and it also does affect how other people think about you.
With the award behind it, it's opened up doors and people are really interested and want to hear my interpretation on an iconic Australian story that's been around for a long time. So thank you very much.
There is great honour in being on the shortlist. In my own experience, it seems, without being in any way offensive to the judges, I trust, that from the shortlist it's a bit of a lottery. So the shortlist is, in fact, I think, what matters.
Anything that draws people's attention to a local book that seems to be of real importance, real interest, real quality, is a great thing.
But I think one of the great things about having had 40 years of New South Wales Premier's Awards now is that means that we've amassed a wonderful archive of 40 years of literary culture in New South Wales.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Madden. And firstly, I'd like to thank John, Sarah, New South Wales State Library for inviting me here today to this prestigious awards. I'm a proud Bundjalung Gadigal man from the Eora Nation. Gadigal land is the land that we're standing on here today. Juniora Gadigal. This land this place is Gadigal. It's customary for Aboriginal people to invite guests or visitors onto our land or country. So I stand here before you as a member of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council and a proud Gadigal man, and welcome you on to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. The Gadigal, if we have any Aboriginal brothers and sisters here today, any brothers and sisters from the Torres Strait Islands, welcome to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. To all our non-Aboriginal brothers and sisters here today, a warm and sincere welcome to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. I'd like to pay our respects to our elders, past, present and emerging. The Gadigal clan is one of 29 clans which make up the Eora Nation, a nation that is bound by 3 distinct landmarks. So we have the Hawkesbury River to the north, the Nepean River to the west and the Georges River to the south. Within the confines of those mighty rivers lie the Eora Nation, and the land that we stand on here today of the Gadigal people are one of those 29 clans of that nation. If we have any guests who've travelled from across the seas today, welcome to Gadigal land. If we have anyone who's travelled from across this great country, great state, and this magnificently beautiful city on a wonderful, beautiful night like tonight, welcome to Gadigal land, Aboriginal land. I truly am honoured to be standing up here today watching some of those past winners speak about how the award has affected them and how they feel about it. So on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, our Gadigal mob, have a safe, trouble-free trip home tonight. Once again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Vallance, I'm the State Librarian, and from George Souris, the President of the Library Council, and other members of the Library Council who are here this evening, the very warmest of welcomes to all of you as we celebrate this evening the 40th anniversary of the Premier's Literary Awards. Back in the 1840s, Gustave Flaubert wrote a rather grumpy letter to one of his mates. And he said, "Have you ever noticed how all authority is..." This happened to me last year. That's the bloke. That's the bloke. I've been set up for the second year in a row. But you can see how I treat it all with equanimity. Anyway, getting back to that bloke, he said, "Have you ever noticed how all authority is stupid when it comes to the arts? Our wonderful governments, kings or republics imagine that they have only to order work to be done and it will be forthcoming. They set up prizes, encouragements, academies, and they forget only one thing, one little thing without which nothing can live: the atmosphere. Writing is not easy. Even if you want to do nothing else but write, it's not easy. Even if you succeed in producing something that's acceptable to you, you have to expose yourself to public scrutiny in the search for an audience. There's that old Peter Cook joke, "I'm writing a novel." Neither am I. Writers need space, and they also need support. In my experience, they tend to want someone or something, it might be an institution like this one, that they can be really, really close to, that will leave them alone. The right atmosphere is not easy to create or sustain. But as much as anything, tonight is about atmosphere. Tonight we're here to congratulate the most recent winners of what have arguably become Australia's most important literary awards. We're also here to reflect on what 40 years of this government support has had on our literary culture. We've got a chance to stress publicly the importance to society of having people who are prepared and able to write fearlessly and without threat of censorship, remembering that censorship comes in many forms. And we also have an opportunity this evening to reflect on the particular importance of poetry as we mourn the death of Les Murray, who died this afternoon. In my own personal opinion, Les Murray is one of the very greatest poets ever to have written in English, and I'll be going home this evening and getting out my Les Murray in a private tribute to him. But all of this is why I thank our distinguished guests for honouring us with their presence this evening and contributing to that atmosphere. The Premier, first of all, who's shown herself a strong supporter not just of writers and writing, but of public libraries across the whole of the state. And the same is true of our Minister, the Honourable Don Harwin, who's also here this evening. The support they showed last year for our public library network is very, very significant, and it's happening at a time in other Western democracies where people are actually losing touch with the social importance of public libraries. So thank you both very much for coming, for honouring us with your presence this year, and thank you, Premier, for agreeing to speak and present the awards. I also acknowledge the following people who are connected in one way or another with the spirit, with the atmosphere behind this evening. The Honourable Dame Murray Bashir, who I met on the way in, who's one of the library's most distinguished and strongest supporters. Chairman of our Library Foundation Board, Rob Thomas, and his fellow board members. Tim Reardon, the Secretary of the Department of Premier and Cabinet. We've just been moved clusters. It happens all the time in the public service, and the library is now, I'm very happy to say, part of the Department of Premier and Cabinet, and I haven't yet met Tim Reardon, but I'm sure we're going to get on really, really well. Suzanne Leal, the senior judge, and her fellow judges. This is Suzanne Leal's final year as senior judge, and I want to thank her for the quality of her leadership and long service to these awards. It's been very significant. The Chairman of Multicultural New South Wales, Dr. Harry Haranath, and his CEO, Joseph Laposta, Professor Anna Funda from the University of Technology, which is one of the award sponsors, Chrissy Sharp and Michaela Maguire and their colleagues from the Sydney Writers' Festival, which starts today. I hope the Writers' Festival is a fantastic success this year. Mark Isaacs, the President, and Zoe Rodriguez, the Vice President of Sydney Pen, who support the Translation Prize. The Honourable Barry O'Farrell, who I haven't yet seen this evening, but I'm assured is here. The US Consul General was not able to come. Friends, colleagues, and most importantly, writers, whose work is really at the heart of this evening. And I'd also like to welcome those people who are watching us online. There are various gadgets down the back that are capturing what we're saying and streaming it around the world. It's the first time we've done this, and we're really thrilled that you're able to join us electronically. So, once again, the warmest of welcomes to all of you, and it gives me great pleasure now to invite the Honourable George Souris, President of the Library Council, to introduce the Premier.
Thank you very much, John. Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Gladys Berejiklian, Minister for the Arts, Don Harwin, Professor Dame Murray Bashir, former Premier, the Honourable Barry O'Farrell, Chair of the Multicultural New South Wales, Dr. Harry Haranath, State Librarian John Vallance. First of all, thank you very much, Uncle Craig Madden, for your welcome to country, and I respond by paying my respects to you on behalf not only of the land that this state library stands upon, but the land upon which 368 public libraries throughout New South Wales stand upon, the State Library Network, and we're very glad to receive your welcome indeed. I also wish to acknowledge fellow members of the Library Council, Mr. Rob Thomas AO and the Library Foundation. A special mention to Sarah and Charlotte Crouch, to John B. Fairfax as well. Premier, I want to thank you most sincerely last year for the tremendous support you gave to the Public Library Network, a doubling of the funding that goes to the Public Library Network of New South Wales, the greatest increase for public libraries since the Library Act itself. And I just want to pay tribute to you for that. Public libraries, as I said, are 368 in number, plus 20 mobile libraries. They encountered 35 million physical visits last year, 41 million loans, plus 13 million virtual visits. And in amongst all of that, of course, there were 1 million physical visits to the State Library of New South Wales. However, this will increase, of course, as visitors come to see the historical treasures and the pictures now on public display, a pointer to the future. And, of course, we have plans for a top-floor expansion of gallery and exhibition spaces and facilities. We had a great open day last year. Some 9,000 people came through the State Library to see the new galleries, the Crouch galleries, the treasures on display, the picture gallery, even to enjoy once again this glorious Mitchell Reading Room. And we are planning also another open day in October of this year. I sincerely hope as many of you who are here tonight are able to make another visit when that takes place. The State Library of New South Wales is one of the great libraries of the world. It continues to provide the finest public library services, as well as its increased public engagement, and that includes taking its place amongst the tourism facilities of New South Wales. Premier, congratulations to you and to your government on their re-election for an historic third term. Congratulations. You are a friend of the State Library. Since becoming Premier, a 100% attendance rate, and we value that, and we value your friendship. And I'd also like to thank you for retaining the arts portfolio in the most capable hands of another friend of the State Library and a friend of us all, the Honourable Don Harwin. Premier, best wishes. Thank you for your personal involvement. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Gladys Berejiklian.
Thank you, George Souris, for that very generous introduction, and it's such a pleasure to be here tonight. The honour is all mine, because tonight, as all the award nights are for the Literary Awards in New South Wales, a historic occasion. And I also want to start by thanking Uncle Craig for the wonderful welcome to country. I should say Brother Craig, too young to be my uncle. Uncle Craig for the wonderful welcome to country, and also acknowledge the traditional custodians and the wonderful land in which we stand, and pay our respects to elders past and present. We're delighted to have you amongst us, and thank you for the lovely warm welcome. We appreciate it deeply. Can I also acknowledge the very many distinguished guests who are here this evening. Dame Mari, George Souris, Rob Thomas, former Premier Barry O'Farrell, of course, my ministerial colleague Don Harwin, who was very persuasive in getting the $60 million to fund our 370 libraries across New South Wales, but an investment well worth it, because without thriving public libraries, where would the works of our authors be accessible in such a huge way? But I'm also so deeply grateful for the wonderful work undertaken by Dr. John Vallance as the Chief Librarian here in New South Wales. He does an amazing job. His passion, intellect and drive has seen this institution continue to grow and thrive. And I want to acknowledge the work he's done, and also the work that George Souris and Rob Thomas and the Foundation Board and the generous benefactors have done in funding the new galleries at the library. And Dr. Vallance this evening talked about atmosphere. This space is normally magic, but tonight the atmosphere is just amazing, and it is one of my favourite places and spaces in all of New South Wales, and deserves the recognition. But I'm also incredibly proud to stand here as the representative of these awards, who for 40 years have acknowledged writers who capture the spirit of our community, who contribute to the fabric of our own culture. And every one of the 600 contributors to these awards this evening deserve recognition. Whether it's poetry, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, writing for children and young people, screen, stage or works of translation, each work adds something unique, and you all speak to us in so many different ways. And I say this again as we embark on the Sydney Writers' Festival, which will see up to 100,000 people involved in more than 300 events across our great city over the next week. But tonight's awards celebrate the richness of our literary talent, and this year's shortlist includes works from established authors, but also new writers who one day will become household names and inspire all of us in the process. And we've seen tonight already some of the past recipients. And tonight's winners will join those past recipients, whether it's celebrated authors including Helen Garner, Thomas Keneally, Ruth Park, who've accepted the Premier's Literary Awards during their distinguished careers. And I note, following the sad passing of Les Murray, that he received the Poetry Award, I understand, in 1984 to demonstrate his recognition. But the Premier's Literary Awards aim to highlight Australia's diverse writers and recognise their ability to reach their audience, all of us. No matter what the author's topic or genre, the entire cohort of nominees have connected with us at the diverse audiences that we are in one way or another, and they've continued to inspire us. It must have been a challenging job to narrow down the long list of nominees. And I want to pay particular tribute to the 30-person judging panel for your expertise and consideration. And I don't envy your positions, but thank you for the role you've played in narrowing down to the winners that will be announced this evening. And to all of the nominees this evening, heartiest congratulations. You're contributing to our culture, and it's something you can all be proud of. And the topics you focused on and the way in which you've conveyed your ideas and your works really give us an insight into where we are as a society more broadly, what is moving us, what is changing our history and what is changing our environment. You are the lens through which we can see all that. And tonight, and this whole week for that matter, is about writers who can transport us to another place, make us think about something from an alternative angle, or teach us something. To our winners, congratulations and well done. This is recognition for the years of hard work that often goes unnoticed, being highlighted and gaining the recognition you deserve this evening. Tonight is a chance for you to reflect on your work and think about your achievements. And please enjoy this opportunity. It's a small token of our appreciation for the sacrifices you've made in delivering your work of art. And only writers know the sacrifices they make and the stresses they go through. But it always gives me great pleasure, and I don't use these words lightly, but I want to thank everybody involved in these awards, not just the nominees, but everybody involved in making them possible, on behalf of all the people of New South Wales, because all of us owe you a huge debt of gratitude. Thank you for expressing yourself through your work. Thank you for entertaining us on so many levels. Thank you for educating us. And thank you for inspiring us all into the future. And I now look forward to presenting some of the awards. Thank you, and I deeply feel honoured to be here with you this evening. Thank you very much.
It's important to celebrate literature and writing because books stick around for a long time, well after our bodies have gone.
I think to celebrate Australian literature is really important because we've come from a whole tradition of ignoring it and of feeling it is lesser, that the better writers are somehow overseas. And I think that you do a great injustice to your country's culture by ignoring who's writing about it and who's trying to grapple with the complexities of it.
I think it's important to recognise and celebrate Australian writers because they're the only one that's telling your story, you know.
Whose story? Our story. In a sense, it's the only story you have.
Storytelling matters profoundly to human beings.
Storytelling is something we will never give up and can't do without.
I tell stories because I can't help it.
I tell stories because I come from a long line of storytellers. I'm an Aboriginal woman, and we've been telling stories since time began.
Before I could write, when I was a child, I'd, write stories in the dirt in the backyard with a stick, making up my own alphabet. It just seemed to be a very natural impulse to invent stories in your head and then somehow to want them recorded.
I remember as a little girl growing up, sitting around their feet, listening to the very funny stories that you would laugh so much your face and your ribs would hurt.
Really good literature unnerves one. It takes you somewhere in to consider things that you might not necessarily have considered before.
There is a huge hole in the soul if we don't have our stories. And I'm delighted that there's so many Australian writers telling so many stories and filling that hole in the heart.
It's only been in the last couple of generations that Aboriginal writers have been published, and we've been able to tell our stories, our truths.
The stories we tell ourselves, particularly the ones we whisper one to one, that's not only who we are but who we'll become. No one else is going to share those stories, be in those stories with us. We're making our story.
What I always say to children is, when they tell me they want to be a writer, is I always say the world will always need good books. So please be a writer.
We want the many. We want the many voices and the many fables, because it has impalpably enriched Australia.
What's exciting is that we're such a multicultural country, and giving all these multicultural people of different races an opportunity to share their stories, it brings about understanding. And when we understand one another through story, everyone in Australia loves a good yarn. So if we can share that and share it for generations to come, then we're going to be a better nation.
Well, thank you, Premier, very much for addressing us and helping us make sure that there isn't a hole in our soul. Your support is very, very important to us. We're going to begin the award presentations now. I'm going to announce the winner in each category, and I would ask the winner then to make his or her way to the stage to accept the award. While you're doing that, I'll say something very briefly about what the judges said. And then when you're up on the stage and you've received your award, could you please stay for a moment so you can have a photograph taken, and then you're welcome to say a few words. I do mean a few words. I know you're writers, but this is a context in which less is more. If you're tweeting tonight, please use the hashtag NSWPLA. So, the first award this evening is the Multicultural New South Wales Award, sponsored by our friends at Multicultural New South Wales. It's valued at $20,000 and covers all genres of writing, including fiction, non-fiction, memoir, history, poetry, playwriting and script writing. The works under consideration need to display a high degree of literary merit, and in addition must also address the Australian migration experience and aspects of cultural diversity and multiculturalism in our society. The shortlist reflects modern multicultural Australia, realities, problems and joys, and the works we're recognising this evening offer timely and necessary messages of compassion, empathy and common humanity in a uniquely Australian voice. The shortlist for 2019 is made up of The Lebs by Michael Mohammed Ahmad, Rainforest by Eileen Chong, Too Much Lip by Melissa Lukashenko, Home is Nearby by Magdalena Maguire, Always Another Country, a memoir of exile and home by Sisonke Mismang, and Miss Ex-Yugoslavia by Sofia Stefanovic. And the winner is The Lebs by Michael Mohammed Ahmad. And there he is. With all that applause, I haven't had a chance to tell you what it's about, so you're going to have to buy a copy at the back. There's a shop at the back, and you can pick one out on the way, on the way out.
Firstly, please join me in a prayer for the victims of Christchurch and the victims in Sri Lanka who lost their lives to terrorism. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. As-sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayr al-maghdubi alayhim walad-dallin. Amen. Just a few people I need to thank. Firstly, Jane and our son Khalil. I want to thank the team at Hachette, Fiona, Sophie, Alana, and especially Robert Watkins. As we like to say in the western suburbs of Sydney, you're all white, but you're all right. I want to thank a lost Arab named Omar Seika, all my brothers and sisters at Sweatshop Western Sydney Literacy Movement, and someone very dear to my heart, Winnie Dunn. Lastly, I'd like to thank my fellow shortlistees and the judges. I have a message for one of the judges, Osman Faruqi. Next time the white supremacists troll you, send them to my place and we'll sort them out like lebs. Thank you. This is a great honor.
Next is the Nick Enright Prize for Playwriting, worth $30,000. We're delighted to have Nick Enright's brother Ian with us this evening to share in the celebration. And the 2019 shortlist is made up of The Almighty Sometimes by Kendall Fever, Oil Babies by Petra Kaliv, Going Down by Michelle Lee, Lost Boys by Lachlan Philpott, The Long Forgotten Dream by H. Lawrence Sumner, and Barbara and the Camp Dogs by Ursula Hohovich and Alana Valentine. And the winner is The Almighty Sometimes by Kendall Fever. There she is. The play, I'm not comfortable about interrupting this applause, but this is a play about the complexity of living with someone with a mental illness. And Kendall is not able to be with us this evening. She's currently working in London, so that's Lee Lewis, the artistic director of the Griffin Theatre Company, to accept the award on her behalf.
I was the very lucky director of this play, and the very passionate artistic director of Griffin Theatre Company, and I have to say, in sitting here tonight, I've loved all of the plays that are nominated, and I wanted to thank, as someone that works in theatre, all of those playwrights for continuing to thrill us. These are Kendall's words. Thank you to the New South Wales Premier, the State Library of New South Wales, judges Jenny Medway and Ian Sinclair for this incredible honour. Equally thrilling is to be nominated alongside Petra Kaliv, Michelle Lee, Lachlan Philpott, H. Lawrence Sumner, Alana Valentine and Ursula Jovic, all of whom are playwrights and theatre makers I have long admired. Unfortunately, I can't be there tonight, and in my place I'm sending the play's formidable director, Lee Lewis, who now has the uncomfortable task of reading out the very many compliments that will be directed at herself. The Almighty Sometimes is a play about how difficult it is to diagnose, live with, love and care for someone with a mental illness. Over the years, dozens of psychiatrists, mental health workers, parents and young people have contributed to the play's development, and I want to thank them all for their time and support. Their very real stories, questions, hopes and fears make up the beating heart of this play. I want to thank the play's original producers, the extraordinary Royal Exchange Theatre in Manchester, artistic director Sarah Frankholm, dramaturg Suzanne Bell, director Katie Rudd, cast, crew and creatives for their beautiful first production. The play then found a second home at Griffin Theatre Company, Australia's new writing theatre, led by artistic director and current speech giver Lee Lewis. Thank you, Lee, for loving this play from its very first draft, for refusing to be fazed by the addition of magic realism and a whole second act, and for fighting tooth and nail to bring the play home to Australia. Yeah, I don't believe in editing playwrights, but I'm just not going to read the next bit. She's very lovely. To my powerhouse agent, Kristen Foster, and my brilliant publishers, Faber and Faber in the UK and Currency Press in Australia, thank you. My two wonderful parents, thank you for being here today. My mum, Jenny Horden, to whom this play is dedicated, has featured heavily in thank you speeches over the years, but this is the first time that my dad, Kevin Fever, has been able to attend an event of this kind. To that end, it would be remiss of me not to say, and very, very publicly, thank you, Dad, for your unwavering support, careful guidance and sound advice delivered more often than not in the form of several early morning essay-length text messages. Thank you for forcing an entire office of Sydney insurance brokers to attend your daughter's play. Yes, thank you. It has been an honour and a privilege to feature so heavily in the monthly Gowgates Insurance Company newsletter. I love you, Dad. And finally, I want to acknowledge the life and work of actress Penny Cook. Penny played Vivian in The Almighty Sometimes, and it was the last performance she gave before she passed away just after Christmas. In a sentiment borrowed from Lee herself, there is some small comfort to be found in the fact that Penny's last performance was on the Griffin Theatre stage, the company she helped to found, and the building she helped to save some 39 years earlier. She was a friend, colleague, and mentor to so many in this industry, and a passionate advocate of all things Australian theatre. We are so lucky to have known you, Penny, and this award, as always, is dedicated to you.
Thank you very much, Lee. Now we have the Betty Rowland Prize for script writing, again, which is worth $30,000, for a screenplay of feature-length film, script of a documentary film, or the script of a television or radio program. We're delighted to have with us here tonight Gilda Baraki, who is Betty Rowland's daughter. And this year's shortlisted entries for this award are Picnic at Hanging Rock, Episode 4, by Alice Addison, Jurga by Benjamin Gilmore, Soul City Sue by Noel Yancheska, Mystery Road Episode 5, The Waterhole by Timothy Lee, Mystery Road Episode 1, Gone by Michaeli O'Brien, and Riot by Greg Waters. And the winner is Jurga by Benjamin Gilmore. An account of, I'll try and speak over the applause this time, an account of the return to Afghanistan of an Australian soldier still haunted by his panicked shooting of an unarmed villager in the heat of combat. A deeply moving new take, the judges say, on the war story. Jurga explores the human cost of military conflict.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, and this is quite a surprise, and I really want to dedicate this award to the Afghans that we worked with, Sam Smith and myself, in Afghanistan to bring this film to the screen, this story to the screen. Originally, this screenplay looked a little bit different, and it was only through that process of being on the ground with the Afghan actors and with Sam Smith. I've got a lot of gratitude for Sam for crossing out so much of my dialogue, and for the Afghans for refusing to do some of the scenes that weren't authentic. And while we were over there in Afghanistan and during the whole process of writing this, I certainly felt, the whole team felt as if we were possessed, as if we were channeling something that was way beyond us, that was way greater than us as human beings that needed to be in the world. And so it's kind of a bit weird accepting this as a human, but I just want to acknowledge that greater power and hopefully put this money towards working for that power again, and acknowledge the Afghans and my collaborator Sam Smith in bringing this story out and putting it out there. So thank you very much, and what a great surprise. Good night.
And now to the category for our youngest readers, the Patricia Wrightson Prize for Children's Literature. You may be aware that we're planning to build a special library for children in the Macquarie Street building next door. Design work will start on that tomorrow, and I'm hoping that this is going to become the Australian centre for all people interested in writing for children. Not least for children themselves as well. Shortlisted for the Patricia Wrightson Prize this year, we have Shine Mountain by Julie Hunt, Maya and the Cat by Caroline McGurl, Leave Taking by Lorraine Marwood, Dingo by Claire Saxby and Tanya Harricks, Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend, and The Dog with Seven Names by Diane Wolfer. And this year we have joint winners. They are Leave Taking by Lorraine Marwood and Dingo by Claire Saxby and Tanya Harricks. It's going to take a while for them to get their trophies. I can tell you that Leave Taking is a verse novel in which the central character's younger sister has recently died from cancer. A layered yet accessible story, say the judges, describes so well the pain of farewell to a loved family member. Dingo, on the other hand, say the judges, is a non-fiction picture book, outstanding because of the way in which it combines a story and factual text, paired so well with particularly striking oil-painted artwork.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's such a privilege to have this book a winner with my friend Claire Saxby. Fantastic. A verse novel isn't an easy thing to write or to be accepted, and so I thank my fabulous agent Jane Novak and my UQP publishers Christina and Vanessa, my editor, and the wonderful team at UQP. Sorry, a bit overwhelmed. Leave Taking is dedicated to all those who are facing cancer. Not an easy novel to write, but one that I hope will help families and especially children with the grieving process. And thank you for the wonderful awards. It's great to be noticed in this way, and to be in this fabulous library is wonderful. Thank you very much. Go down.
It's really heavy. We are fortunate to live in a country that includes so many iconic animals. We are lucky to live in a world full of wonder. And we are grateful for the opportunity to create books to share our curiosity and passion with young people. On behalf of Tanya and myself, thank you to the New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards and the New South Wales State Library. Thank you to Sue Whiting and Donna Rawlins and to Walker Books Australia. Thank you to Patricia Wrightson for tilling the Australian soil both as a writer and as an editor, and for giving your name to this award. Thank you to our fellow shortlisters for creating such rich and diverse works. And last but never least, thank you to our families who support us always.
We now come to the Ethel Turner Prize for Young People's Literature, which is worth $30,000. If you'll permit me another shameless plug for the State Library, we hold the original manuscript for Seven Little Australians, and it's just been added to the UNESCO Memory of the World Register. Also very pleased that this evening we have Ethel Turner's great-grandson, Peter Poole, and his family with us this evening. The 2019 shortlist is made up of Between Us by Claire Atkins, Small Spaces by Sarah Epstein, I Am Out with Lanterns by Emily Gale, Amelia Westlake by Erin Goff, Stone Girl by Eleni Hale, and The Art of Taxidermy by Sharon Curnow. And the winner is Amelia Westlake by Erin Goff. A funny queer romantic comedy about two schoolgirls who can't stand each other. Despite this, they ultimately join forces in a grand feminist plan to expose harassment and inequality at their elite private school. Erin Goff continues to be an important voice in Australian young adult fiction. She's now at the podium, so I'll hand over to her. Congratulations.
Sorry, I'm just texting my mum. Thank you so much to the New South Wales Premier's Awards and to the judges for this incredible honour. It is such an honour, especially to be shortlisted amongst such terrific authors tonight. I'd like to thank the best publishers of all time, Hardy Grant Egmont, especially Hilary Rogers, who commissioned Amelia Westlake, Luna Sue, who vastly improved my manuscript, and a big special thanks to my editor, Marisa Pintado. Amelia Westlake would not be half the book it is without her talent and dedication. Thank you to everyone who provided feedback, and in particular my partner Emma Kersey for everything she's done to make this book a possibility. I'd like to also thank the Australian young adult community, the Love AusYA community. Despite us being spread across the country, it effectively provides the warmest and most supportive workplace that I've ever had the privilege of working in. I'd like to dedicate this win to my young queer readers, who I hope Amelia Westlake inspires to stand up and be proud of who they are, because they ought to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the Kenneth Slessor Prize for Poetry, which has a particular weight this evening, as I said earlier. Worth $30,000, 6 shortlisted for the 2019 prize, and they are Interval by Judith Bishop, I Love Poetry by Michael Farrell, Things I've Thought to Tell You Since I Saw You Last by Penelope Leyland, Wildlife of Berlin by Philip Nielsen, Blindside by Mark Reed, and Rondo by Chris Wallace-Crabb. And the winner is Interval by Judith Bishop.
Oh, what a wonderful evening this is. Thank you to the Honourable Gladys Berejiklian and the State Library of New South Wales. There's so much strength in the poetry that's being written in this country today, in the works on this shortlist and beyond. So to win an award such as this is an extraordinary and very humbling gift. My deepest thanks to the judges for the confidence and the energy that this will give me. To my publisher, Madonna Duffy, my editor, Felicity Plunkett, and the whole team at UQP, thank you for everything. This book owes its existence to you. To Peter Kuzman, my daughters, Sophie and Elisa, and my parents, whose love made it possible, all my love to you. This is an unexpected news, obviously, about Les Murray, which is very sad. I'm deeply, deeply saddened to hear it. I would like to, however, dedicate this win to another wonderful poet, Chris Wallace Crabbe, a dear friend for more than 20 years, an inspiration and my first poetry teacher. Some of Chris's poems, to me, stand among the greatest lyric poems of any time. And I'd also like to dedicate this win to the values of kindness, respect, and compassion for all our fellow beings and other forms of life on this earth, values that matter deeply to me and to this book. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the New South Wales Premier's Translation Prize, which is presented every 2 years to a translator for a body of work. The trophy for this award is sponsored by Sydney Penn. And in 2019, the shortlisted translators are Harry Aveling, Stephen Corcoran, Alison Entrikin, Penny Houston, Stephanie Smee, and Omid Tawfiqian, who has received a highly commended award from the judging panel for his translation of Behruz Bukhani's No Friends But the Mountains, writing from Manus Prison. But the winner of this award this year is Alison Entrikin. Over the course of her career, Alison has established herself as one of the world's leading translators from Portuguese. She's been shortlisted 3 times previously for this award, and the judges say she is a thoroughly deserving winner in 2019. She can't be with us tonight because she's currently in Brazil, which is quite a good place for a Portuguese translator to be, and she has sent us a very short video acceptance speech.
Hello from Brazil. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you tonight. I'm so happy to be receiving this award, especially for literature translation, which is such an unsung art form. So it is truly an honour. I would like to thank the State Library of New South Wales and PEN Australia, and also a very special thank you to all of the Brazilian writers whose work I've translated, without whom I'd be out of a job. So thank you very much.
Now, the Douglas Stewart Prize for Non-Fiction. There were 130 entries in this category this year, so first of all we have to thank the judges for reading all of them. One of the members of the judging panel is Meg Stewart, who's the daughter of Douglas Stewart, and Meg is here with us this evening along with her fellow judges. Now, after that monumental task, the following books have emerged on the shortlist for the Douglas Stewart Prize. Sagaland by Richard Feidler and Kari Gislason. Deep Time Dreaming, Uncovering Ancient Australia by Billy Griffiths. The Trauma Cleaner, One Woman's Extraordinary Life in Death, Decay and Disaster by Sarah Krasnostein. The Erratics by Vicky Laveau-Harvey. Axiomatic by Maria Tumarkin. And Tracker by Alexis Wright. This year, the judges have decided to split the prize between 2 winners, and they are Deep Time Dreaming, Uncovering Ancient Australia by Billy Griffiths, and The Trauma Cleaner, One Woman's Extraordinary Life in Decay, and Disaster by Sarah Krasnostein. I'm doing a shocking job telling you what these books are about, but can I remind you yet again that you can buy them all on the way out and find out properly and empirically for yourselves. Billy is going to speak to accept his award. Sarah can't be with us this evening because she's overseas, so after we've heard from Billy Griffiths, I'd like to invite Michael Hayward from Text Publishing to accept that award.
Thank you, and congratulations to the other shortlisted authors. This is a huge honour to receive this award, and I'm delighted to be sharing it with Sarah. A book like Deep Time Dreaming is only made possible by the generosity of others. and also institutions such as the State Library in New South Wales, and some of the book was written in this very room. I want to thank in particular the scholars, activists and custodians who invited me onto their lands, into their lives, and allowed me to share some of their stories. I've had a wonderful publisher in Black Ink and a very supportive group of family, friends and colleagues. I wanted to write this book to help change the conversation that we've been having about Australian history, to deepen our understanding of the history of this continent. And I've been overjoyed to see this book being read and engaged with in the context of the movement for a voice, treaty and truth. I finished the book with the Uluru Statement from the Heart, and if you haven't read it yet, please do. It is a remarkable document, a modest proposal and a radical opportunity. It asks us all Australians, to confront our past and reimagine our future. Deep Time Dreaming is sustained by hope, and it is my hope that we might be ready to listen and to hear that profound offering. Thank you.
I've got a short statement from Sarah, which I'll read to you in a minute. But first of all, Premier, thank you so much for your support for these awards, and the reason why they're so important is apparent, I think, to us in all the books around us in this beautiful room. I know Sarah would want me to say how thrilled she is to share this award with Billy Griffiths. If you haven't read Deep Time Dreaming, read it. It's a book that literally changes the history of this country. It's a wonderful thing. Every so often a book comes into the publishing company that's so special, that's so much itself and not anything else, that we have to teach ourselves how to publish it. And The Trauma Cleaner is such a book. It's a book of great formal invention, of great courage and great humanity. And it was an extraordinary thing for us to have the honour of publishing it. Sarah can't be with us tonight. She's in London. She's shortlisted for the Wellcome Prize, which is another tremendous honour for her and her book. She sends her apologies, but she wrote this short statement for me to read to you, which is, I am deeply grateful to the New South Wales Government, the State Library, Create New South Wales and the judges for their commitment to Australian literature and for all their hard work. Thank you to the writers on this list for your books. It is a privilege to be in your company. I will be forever grateful to Sandra Pankhurst and to the people she worked with for letting me in and for allowing me to write about their extraordinary stories. My eternal gratitude to my editor Mandy Brett for her wisdom, to my publisher Michael Hayward for his fortifying belief in this book. I've read that pretty shamelessly. You can take it with a grain of salt, I think. And to the wonderful team at Text Publishing, and allow me to pay credit and pay tribute to the people at Text who made this book possible, not least Chong Weng Ho for that extraordinary design which you see up on the screen. Thank you to those heroes, the booksellers, for their time in reading this book and for their efforts in hand-selling it, and to my family for their love and support which kept me going throughout the writing process. Thank you.
The $5,000 UTS Glenda Adams Award for New Writing is sponsored, as you will have imagined, by the University of Technology and is chosen from debut works of fiction submitted for the Christina Stead Prize. And this year's shortlisted works are Flames by Robbie Arnott, Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton, Scrublands by Chris Hammer, The Everlasting Sunday by Robert Lukins, Pink Mountain on Locust Island by Jamie Marina Lau, and The Lucky Galah by Tracy Sorensen. And the 2019 winner is Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. Well, that seems to have gone down well.
said something beautiful.
Don't tell them.
I think it's fair to say I love every person in this room right now. That's like a fact. Self-doubt, David Marr. You should know what it feels like to be a journo and be sat near you for the whole night. That's self-doubt right there. But I just want to say something about a guy I spent 2 days with for a story for the Weekend Australian magazine, the amazing poet Les Murray. He put me up in his house. He put a folded towel out on the end of the bed. His beautiful wife Val cooked a roast lamb. Les cooked fried eggs for breakfast. And on Saturday night, we just spent all night just drinking red wine and talking about the wonders of Juanita Phillips. And he read a poem to me called Home Sweet. Home Sweet. And that poem starts with the words, home is the first and final poem. And the next sort of opening sentence of the next kind of bit of that poem is, home is the weakest enemy. You know, I went home, Les, I just want you to know, man, I went home, and that's what this book is about. He was trying to tell me that never be afraid to go home, you know, and I just want to thank Alice Wood, Catherine Milne, every last person at HarperCollins who just kind of helped take me home. I want to thank my family for taking me home. Christine Midap from the Weekend Australian, Michelle Gunn, she took me home. All those folks, all my colleagues on those papers, those hard-working journos. I really love you guys, and I just want to really kind of go home now and sort of look down here, and I'm hoping, you know, I'm thinking about my wife, and I'm thinking about Beth and Sylvie. I know you can see me because you two are wizards. You guys inspired that book, and I love you so much. Your dad loves you so much. You always remember you can go home. David, no doubt, man, no doubt now. Thank you so much. This is an honor. This is a great honor. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you. Thanks to the library. Thank you.
Now, the judges have shortlisted 6 works from another very strong field of entries for the $40,000 Christina Stead Prize for Fiction. And you're about to hear, and there may be another kerfuffle in a moment, that 2 of the works shortlisted are debuts, which is an excellent achievement. The shortlist for the Christina Stead Prize, Man Out of Time by Stephanie Bishop, Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton, The Life to Come by Michelle de Kretzer, The Everlasting Sunday by Robert Lukins, Border Districts by Gerald Murnane, and The Shepherd's Hut by Tim Winton. Each year, we invite members of the public and visitors to the library to vote for their favourite book out of this shortlist, and this year, the People's Choice Award goes to Trent Dalton and Boy Swallow Universe. You can shake my hand this time.
I'll go to him.
No, you've had your go.
Oh, sorry.
No, come on.
Sorry. I just hope you know that everything that's in that book tells you why this means so much to me. And to my mom, my freaking hero, I hope you see this. You see my face, it's in the book, it's the best part of the book. Look on my face. I love you more. I love you more because of it all. The People's Choice like that is unbelievable to me because, you know, my old man would have been one of those people voting, you know, and so thank you so much, guys. I love you all even more. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Now, that was the People's Choice Award. We've now got the 2019 Christina Stead Prize for Fiction, the one I mentioned at the beginning. And the winner of that is The Life to Come by Michelle de Kretzer. It's not the first time, as you know, this has happened. I won't interrupt this moment.
Thank you. Thank you first to the Premier and the State Library of New South Wales for saying so resoundingly, books matter. I thank my agents, Sarah Lutchins, Alan and Unwin, my publishers, and especially Jane Palfreman and Lou Corneget. I also want to offer my heartfelt thanks to my partner, Chris Andrews. Someone said earlier on that writers make sacrifices and go through a lot of stresses. I think the partners of writers would have something to say about that too. I thank Chris for being my first reader and for putting up with me through the writing of this book and before and after. Thank you. A huge thank you to the judges for the honour of this prize. It really means an awful lot to me. And I'm so grateful for the gift of time in which to read and think and write that it brings with it. And Kim Scott said it beautifully, didn't he? The shortlist matters. And I'm so grateful to the judges also for placing me on an exceptional one. 5 wonderful writers whose work I salute and whose achievements I respect. And finally, I want to say thank you to all the writers here. Thank you for writing the books that inspire me and teach me and make me think and make me want to write better. Shirley Hazzard described literature as an intensification of life. Thank you for intensifying mine.
Now, the Special Award. Previous recipients of the Special Award include Christina Stead herself, Ruth Park, Thomas Keneally, Thea Astley, David Williamson, and most recently in 2016, Rosie Scott. While the Special Award has historically been awarded to writers themselves, it's also sometimes awarded to, or can be awarded to works that fall outside the existing guidelines. The New South Wales Premier's Literary Award guidelines stipulate that authors must be Australian citizens or permanent residents in order to be considered. But this year, the Special Award, which is valued at $10,000, is being presented to a work which, due to this rule, was not able to be considered in the existing award categories. The 2019 Special Award goes to No Friend But the Mountains, writing for Manus Prison by Behrouz Bukhani and translated by Omid Tawfiqian. I'm not sure that I need to read out my blurb because you clearly all know about this book, but I'm delighted that Omid Tawfiqian and Munaz Mansoubi are able to be here to accept the award.
It's a great pleasure for me to accept Behrouz Award. I can't say anything except I wish he was here, and such a shame for humanity that he's not here. Congratulations, Behrouz, and congratulations, Omid.
Friends,
lovers of literature, supporters of justice, Behruz Buchani. Behruz, بله الان وقتش هست.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I really don't know what should I say. Of course, I didn't write this book to get an award. I wrote this book for unknown readers, not only in Australia, around the world. Because what is important for us is that we share this story with people around the world. We tell this story, this tragedy, that people understand our situation. And it should lead to freedom for everyone. It is my big dream that all of refugees in Manus and Moro get freedom. And yeah, this, I hope, yeah, it's really hard for me. It's, honestly, I feel sad because these awards didn't bring change, didn't make change yet. And still we are here, still people are suffering. It is a very paradoxical feeling, but I wanted to thank you and share that my big dream to get freedom for everyone in Manus and Nauru. Thank you very much.
I just want to say that it was extremely important for Behruz that Munis Mansoubi was here tonight to accept the award with me. Munis is Behruz's very first translator. Without Munis, I wouldn't have become familiar with Behruz's work. And we've all been traveling to different places. We're all border crossers in some way. We've had the opportunities to come here, to thrive, and to enjoy freedom and protection here. Unfortunately, Behruz hasn't been given that opportunity. But I travelled a number of different continents to get here today. I actually arrived this morning. And when I think about the fact that Behruz has to go back to his isolated, remote cell, alone, cold, he's probably there in the dark right now as we're meeting here. As we're going to celebrate afterwards, he'll be there alone, just contemplating what he's missed out on, all these many times that he's won awards and has been recognised. It gives me a really sick feeling, the fact that I've been able to travel to all of these different places. I've had all these freedoms and opportunities, and I'm collecting the award for him. It's horrible. It's horrific. And I think the style or the intellectual, creative landscape that I imagine in terms of the character of his book is horrific surrealism. I think what we need to do in order to move forward as a nation is to remove that element of horror and enjoy, thrive, appreciate, support the creative value in people like Behruz Buchani. Thank you.
Every year, the judges select from the winners of each category a Book of the Year. This work is awarded an additional $10,000, and it now gives me great pleasure to announce that the 2019 Book of the Year is Deep Time Dreaming, Uncovering Ancient Australia by Billy Griffiths.
Thank you. I'm speechless. What a wonderful celebration of the arts this evening has been, and I've said my thank yous. So really, this book has been the product of so many people. In fact, I say in the book that a book is a gift given to its author by all the people who made it possible, and this is an immense gift. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of the awards. You don't have to go yet, but I do want to thank once again the Premier for coming this evening, and the Minister for coming this evening. I'd like to thank Bram Presser, Alex Miller, Patricia Cornelius, David Malouf, Tom Keneally, Ursula de Versarski, Leah Purcell, and Kim Scott, who you saw up on the screen, because they were in our video presentations. Tomorrow at 1:30 in the Metcalfe Auditorium in the Macquarie Street building, our senior judge Suzanne Leal will be hosting a panel talk with some of our winners from this evening, including Billy Griffiths, Judith Bishop, Michelle de Kretzer and Michael Mohammed Ahmad. It's free, please come along. Please stay and enjoy the rest of the evening. Somebody asked me on the way in why we have this glass panel down the middle. It's not because of us and them. There is no human taxonomy implicit in this. It's just that these wretched glass panels are dynabolted to the floor, and we can't work out a way of getting them out without causing chaos, but we have technical consultations underway. Could all the winners please come up on stage for a final mugshot? And the rest of you, thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the Sydney Writers' Festival and enjoy the rest of this evening.
It's the oldest, the biggest and the best. And to win the New South Wales Premier's Literary Award is just amazing to have that on your CV. You know, it opens doors. And it, like for me, it's just really cool.
There's a lovely quote I read as I walked into this library. I can't remember it now. I wish I could. It would be a wonderful answer to that question.
And Patrick White accepted it on my behalf, which again was this great moment for me, and I'm sure for lots of other people too. They were probably more interested to see Patrick up there than they would have been to see me.
Mind you, I've been robbed a few times. When I talk about the quality of the judging, I have to confess to some disappointments once or twice. I mean, I'm happy enough on the whole, but really, once or twice, I don't know what they were thinking.
The New South Wales Premier's Literary Awards are the award to win in Australian literature. Miles Franklin, Stella. Not that I'm eligible anyway. What else is there? Prime Minister. What's a Prime Minister when you've got the New South Wales Premier? So clearly everyone is just gunning to win the New South Wales Awards, and the rest of them are just looking up going, I like my Victorian Premier's Award, but geez, I wish it had been the New South Wales one.
Leaving the lights off of the night, spending my time on you. Feeling alright, not much in my mind but you. And what you want to do, yeah, and what you want to do. Not much in my mind but you. And what you want to do, yeah, and what you want to do. Keeping calm on a dice roll, reading the palms as the sky falls. We get into the streets, meander for weeks till we know that it's all cool. We know that it's all cool.
Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood. Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood.
No need to rush it cause we
Run on different time zones, waiting by my phone. Colder than Antarctica, run me off like Tamika. When she talks a lot, I don't really mind. Gives me time to think, close my eyes, I'm tired. Red dress the best, both titles got up the rest. You're big bright, and I feel like a dull light. You're just a big bright.
She don't sip or sink or drink or think about it. She jumping in, she dance around it. Right up at the hour, trying to get closer loud, trying to calm down. Trying to rest out but sleeping with a heart beating on. Grinning back, butterflies in the time before I shut my eyes. Flashback, turn over to see you. There's that smile, ooh, we could just hang a while. Maybe I'm saying too much, maybe that wasn't a touch, no.
Bet you at a metal show, wet in places you don't know. Heart feels like a hurricane, trapping bubbles on the brain. Always been your bestie, yeah I know what that means, but I don't like labels and you never like fables, so it's you I like, but I lose my damn nerve, yeah, every time. Write this verse for you, oh, if you don't mind. Write this verse for you, hope that's alright.
Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood. Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood.
Don't friends on me, that moves way too lonely. That's like cheesy pizza with no pepperoni. Tell the feds get off me, I'm no threat, I'm Harley. Tryna start some drama, I'm lying, I'ma talk that nonsense. Yeah, I took flight in a cockpit. Yeah, I like you when I caught back. I'm all for the love and the full clip. Shoot my shot, hope it hits that target. Hey, bullseye on your heart is the homie from the west side. Well, all the natives who right, it's red or blue, pick your side. You pick that blue to match my mood. I got my feels, but I can't tell you. Like these words, can't belt that. Ain't no freedom. I detach.
Keep calm on the dice roll, reading the palms as the sky falls. We get to the streets, meander for weeks, still we know that it's all cool. We know that it's all cool. Keeping calm on the dice roll, keeping calm on the dice roll. We know that it's all cool.
Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood. Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood.
No need to rush it cause we
keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood. Keep it riding high with the concrete soul, young blood.
No need to rush it cause we
Broken glass and porcelain, I won't let you in. Who would you do this for? Sunset in the background, table laid out, but I don't wanna sit down. Broken glass and porcelain, I won't let you in. Who would you do this for? Sunset in the background, table lay down, but I don't wanna sit down. What are you after? It ends in disaster. I know you're still looking for her, so try not to crash this time. We got this love that makes me think of two children